In this episode, we're talking about facing our fears. My guest, Jackie Roby, shares what it meant to walk through fear on her journey and what it has yielded in her business and life to help you discover what may be on the other side of your fears. Hello, and welcome to the Beautiful Reflections podcast. I'm your host, Katherine Johnson, a certified professional coach, mentor, writer, and speaker. I help professional women gain the clarity, confidence, and courage to pursue their bigger purpose and vision so that they can have fulfillment and thrive in their careers. I believe there is beauty in our voices, beauty in our stories, and beauty in our journeys. There is power in community, connection, and deep, meaningful conversation, which is why me and my guests are here to share our stories, experiences, lessons, and learning to inspire you as you walk the path and step into your next level. We go deep, sharing beautiful reflections of what this personal growth journey looks like in real, living color. This journey of pursuing our purpose and vision as we continue to evolve. It is my mission to empower you to believe in your power, to embrace your own uniqueness, and to be the best version of you. I want to see you thrive purposefully. Now on to the episode for today. Hello, and welcome to the Beautiful Reflections podcast. I'm your host, Katherine Johnson. In today's episode, we're talking about facing our fears. Fear is something that we all deal with on some level. Often, our fears show up when we're stepping into something new or considering something different in our lives, which is why it's important that we recognize fear so that we can move through it and it doesn't keep us stuck where we ultimately don't want to be. I invited my guest, Jackie Roby, to share her journey of walking through fear. Jackie is the Chief Excellence Officer at Inspired Journey Consulting, a Boston-based business dedicated to wellness, healing, and transformational tourism. She's a sales strategist and social media amplifier for healing and wellness travel businesses, helping clients craft sales and social media strategies to increase revenue. Listen as Jackie shares how facing her fears led her to greater authenticity and healing on her journey. Hi, Jackie. Welcome to the Beautiful Reflections podcast.
Katherine, thank you so much. I love your podcast. I'm really honored to be here.
Oh, thank you for being here. I'm excited to have this conversation with you today. Today, we're talking about walking through fear to be authentic and to really heal. And I've had the opportunity to get to know you through our Thought Leadership Academy and hear about your story and your journey to date. So I thought it would be very fitting to have you on to have this conversation about what this really means, what it really means to walk through fear and to face our fears and what it can yield on our journey. And for you, it's been, a more authentic you and really some healing that has really helped you to grow and to be a better person. So I thought this was a great conversation to have, and you could bring so much insight and so much value. And also it translates into the work that you're doing currently in your business and supporting others.
Thank you. Absolutely. I would love to talk about all of that.
So let's talk about this journey. Let's start with walking through fear, and let's paint a picture for the listeners what that means and what that looked like for you.
I would say that was a consistent thing that I had to look to do. Fear was a driver. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of failing. Fear of not being loved. Fear of being left. Everything centered around that space. And my big moment of walking through fear, most recently, when I decided to leave my corporate job and start my own business.
And I'm sure, like with anything new and different, that had to be really scary. And I'm sure that a lot of things came up for you in making that decision. When you made that decision, tell us about how you were feeling inside, like what was going, in your heart and your mind, and what were some of the emotions that you were dealing with?
Sure. Well, when it finally happened, I was empowered. But it was leading up to it that really had that mix of things happening. I had basically spent a year and a half not following my intuition. And I was just wanting to strive for the best, as I had always done. I grew up a straight A student. I wanted to always excel. It was just in me. And my career was a place that I always focused. I remember growing up and my I would always have crushes. I was boy crazy from the start. And my parents would say, enough about your boyfriends, focus on school. No boys, school. No boys, school. And it was just always like that. So my independence, my career was priority. And as I continued to grow and succeed, I found myself in what felt like the dream job. And when leadership changed, the culture changed, and my opportunities changed, or actually my opportunities diminished. So I just wanted to find a way to make it work. That was what I did. I made things work. And it was like hitting my head up against a wall. I had reached out for help in so many different ways, internally, externally, mentors in the industry, life coaches, sessions with coaches during healing travel, all of these different things. And people outside of the company told me to leave. People recommended starting my own business. There were so many things that had come my way, and I would half listen, but really felt like, no, I'm going to work through this. I'm going to make this happen. So I just pushed it all away, pushed away all the signs, and just kept moving forward. And then finally, I received this messaging. It was a hostile work environment. I received messaging that was really hurtful and negative about myself, not constructive. And it threw me back, and honestly, very transparently, it threw me into panic. So I took some sick days. I went to my therapist. I was in brain spotting at the time. That was really helpful because I couldn't see through it, and I wasn't functioning well. I was in tears all the time. I was not the best version of myself. So, and we had talked about me starting something before, my husband and I, but I was the logical financial one. No, I need to have a certain amount in savings. No, I need to have this backup. No, there's other things that need to be done first. I was terrified to put myself out there in a way that was just me. I wanted to do it with a business partner, but that was never lining up the exact way I thought it should. So finally, as we're at this point of panic, and I'm working through things in therapy, and I'm taking these sick days to give myself the space to do that, I had a call with somebody in the industry that I love. Her name is Ann Bigging. She's the co-founder of Healing Hotels of the World. And she had quickly become a friend over a few months. And we chatted, and I was talking to her about what was happening. And she gave me these beautiful visualizations on how to help me emotionally in the scenario. She sent me a meditation to guide me in this space, and was just somebody who was so loving and supportive, the kind of leader that I craved. And it was on this call with her that I had that feeling, that message of, you need to walk through your fear, Jackie. So we hung up the phone. I walked into the other room, said to my husband, I want to quit my job and start my own business. And he said, it's about time. And then he goes, okay, you're going to secure contracts, you're going to do this, and then you'll put your notice in. I said, no, you don't understand. It was a Friday. I said, I want to put my notice in on Monday. And he said, even better. And thank goodness for that. I mean, but I'd waited until I just couldn't take it anymore, which I don't recommend.
Yeah, that's so powerful. But I'm sure that a lot of listeners can relate with just what you were dealing with, really being in this space where it's not ideal, it may be hostile. And a lot of times we get the advice, and we have the advisement or someone telling us that, you can do something else. You can have this or you can have that. But, for whatever reasons, we really feel like, we can fix it or we'll figure it out and it'll get better. And we just kind of just coast with it. So that's really relatable. It's like where you were at as an employee in that space, and then really recognizing that you did have some support available to you, reaching out to these people that were in your network that really, were very instrumental in you seeing that this could be an opportunity for you to do something more, for you to do something bigger. And also just giving you those tools, right? The tools that you needed to do that. Like, saying, hey, do this meditation and practice this visualization and see how much that can help you get the clarity and help you figure some things out for yourself. So I find that to be very relatable. I'm sure that a lot of listeners can relate with that and just understand, where you were and just, knowing that it was time, it was time to do something different. So you made that decision and you're at this space now. Okay, I'm going into business, and you have the wonderful support of your husband, which is always very helpful when you're making a decision like this. Because so often, like, we have these things that we want to do, and we may say it to our closest friends or relatives, and we may get the opposite, right? They may tell us, "Are you crazy? Are you sure that's what you want to do?" Like, and then that just, validates those fears that we have underneath, right? So to have the support of your husband, I'm sure, had to be a wonderful thing when you're in this new space of really making a serious commitment and decision to really just step out there and to, like you said, trust your intuition, trust yourself, and take this step.
Absolutely. He's my number one fan and cheerleader, and I am so grateful. And that's a beautiful thing about why we're together in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
We dream together, and we dream in similar directions, and we support each other to grow and be better.
Mm-hmm. So did you know exactly what you wanted to do in your business? You said that you were a very logical person, and, you like to have things figured out and, very structured. So did you know exactly what you wanted to do? Did you feel like you really had a solid plan, or you think you were really going out there on a limb with what you had in mind?
Yeah, I had a plan. I had a logical plan. I had a 5-year plan. I knew how I wanted to connect the dots. I saw the missing pieces in the space of wellness and healing travel, and I thought, this is where I come in. And I'm going to create this link between the travel advisors who I worked with, the travelers themselves, and then the suppliers. And here's all the different things that I can do. And in the short term, I'm going to do representation, and I'll build up to that. And then eventually, I wanted to do diversity, equity, inclusion consulting for hotels, training, because that's a space that there really is opportunity. And that was for me 2 to 3 years down the line. And then 5 years down the line, I want to go into speaking. So this was all mapped out in my head, and it started in that direction. It really did. I secured a contract for representation within the first 3 weeks. That was amazing. I'm so grateful. And I'd built a program, an education program for travel advisors. That was another thing. Like, I had all of these different areas that I would be able to contribute to help connect the dots and bring the things that were missing. And then it happened again, right? Where my intuition came knocking and said, girl, you don't want this part. This doesn't make sense. Look at your joy. So I'm, less than a year in, I made some shifts again. I said, just because I can do it, just because I'm good at it, doesn't mean it's what I want to do. So I made some shifts again in my business and took out the representation and said, what do I love about this process? What do I love to provide and help with? What makes sense for me? And that's where sales strategy and social media amplifying came into play. And then speaking ended up being something that came to me much quicker than I ever anticipated. And I just believe that you put it out in the universe and it comes to you.
Nice. And that's the great thing about business is that, it gives us the option to really shift along the way. And we're actually learning. It's a process where we're continuously learning. And as we're learning and doing things, and then we're deciding that, this isn't really not a fit, or this is not really in alignment with what I want to do. That's the great thing about being your own CEO and entrepreneur is you can say, look, I can make a shift. I can shift into something that feels more in alignment and feels good to me, which is important to you because, you were really on this journey to really just be your more authentic self, coming from a space where you felt like, you weren't able to, or you weren't able to show up fully and be accepted fully as yourself. So this was a very big, important aspect of your journey, like really being able to say, yeah, I get to do this and I can do it in the way that feels good to me.
Exactly. To think I made this decision, so it's my choice. I get to choose how I'm going to execute in a way that's going to bring me joy and revenue. And I think that choice of happiness is something that I've had to learn along the way. That we have these moments where we can take in the negative, we can just accept, or we can make adjustments. We can either make adjustments in what we're doing, or we can make adjustments in our mindset. And that puts the power and control back in your hands.
Yes, indeed. I love that you brought up mindset because I really want to dig a little more deeply into that. So you've made this decision, you're on this path, and, now you're really in the thick of it, right? Now you're really on the journey. And mindset is a big thing. Like, having the mindset, first having the mindset that, I can do this new thing. And then you're working through things as they come up, having the mindset that's really going to support you, right? So what were some of the challenges that you faced, as you decided to embark on this entrepreneurship journey? What were some of the challenges that you faced immediately, or some of the things that you had to work through with relation to your mindset?
Well, I learned early on how to set up your day, which was great because I'm a morning person. So I was listening to a ton of podcasts. Now, I'd never listened to podcasts before. And now I was doing that, and I was finding spaces that I could do that so that I could learn and be inspired and get good tips. And so I learned that I had set up my day in the space that was correct, right? Starting with meditation, starting with yoga. And those were things that were already a part of my lifestyle. Setting my vision, having writing out my visualizations, all of these different practices that I try different things consistently to see what makes sense at the time, because that's always going to shift. But I would say most of the time I was solid. Honestly, starting it off, there were moments where I thought, okay, I don't know this. I remember I spent 30 minutes trying to build my own website and then said, no, there's no way. And I knew that I was going to delegate. I was hiring somebody for that. And I have the most amazing web designer that I'm so grateful for. It wasn't until really ending a relationship on representation, because it wasn't bringing me joy, and that loss of finances that were consistent, and then turning down other opportunities. Now I have to explain to people what I'm doing in an industry where I know that they need this, but because they've never seen it before, it's a lot of question marks and confused faces. And how are we supposed to work with you? And what does this look like? And do you really think that works? So the challenge here was I was starting something that was different than anything my industry had done before. But that was the point. The point was to be different because we had to do things differently in wellness and healing travel. And the travel industry, as amazing and successful as it's been for so long, there's opportunity. And I saw that, which is why Inspired Journey Consulting came together in the first place. During this time, I was getting a lot of question marks. Are you sure this is going to work? How many contracts do you have? All of these things that were starting to creep in and cause doubt and the dreaded imposter syndrome. And I had a week, really 7 days of panic and anxiety. And I remember when it set in, I'm like an anxiety ninja now. I said, okay, I know this is temporary. I just got to get through it. But it was long and it was tough. And one night I woke up in the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep and I wrote out all the things. So I journaled, because journaling helps me to clear my mind and understand what's really happening, or just sometimes release. And then after, in this process of journaling, I wrote out every single thing I had done in the past 3 weeks. And I went, wow, okay, this shows what the value of a consultant is. And I wrote a blog post about it, actually. It inspired me to do that, but it gave me some grounding in that space. So I think when you're facing those moments, it really is looking within. Now, I've been fortunate to have some fantastic people like yourself that I've met along the way. And it's typically other business owners who give you that great confidence and assurance of what you're doing. It's funny to me, you didn't expect that. I always expected it to come closer to home. For a while, I had to explain it to my husband. He's like, I mean, I gotta get it, but I don't fully see the vision, but I trust you. And which would just throw me into a tailspin and annoy me and all sorts of things. It took him a bit. Now he's like, okay, I'm here. I got it. But I had to get through that. I had to get my mindset going, because I knew that if I don't show up every day feeling raring to go and believing in myself, then nothing's going to happen. And on the days that I don't, I allow myself grace. The other thing is really knowing when and how to access my brilliance. And I own that now, my brilliance. And I think being a business owner has shown me that. I love learning. I take in so much knowledge. between webinars, books, podcasts, and then some. I am always learning and acting from what I learn, right? And I'm implementing. So what I've learned to get a better understanding of is what I can execute on each day. So I'll set aside time for creative writing, but there are times where it's just nothing's coming to me. But maybe that's a time where I'm going to edit the podcast. Maybe that's time where I'm, I don't know, replying to emails. There are some days where emails just look like a big blur and it stresses me out. Right? So I'm just going to shift and lean into what works. And if there's a day where I just need to lay on my bed and binge a Netflix show, I'm going to do that too. So that's how I fit this mindset as an entrepreneur.
Yes, a lot of good stuff you mentioned in there. I loved how you gave the really clear, vivid examples. Everything from the journaling that you do to really structure your day, flowing with your intuition and flowing with in a way that's, easeful. And if you're in a space where it's not a creative day, going into something else and recognizing that and really acknowledging that as some of the tools that you use in your day as an entrepreneur. Now, how has this really helped you personally, like on a personal front, like in your personal relationships or just maybe with family and friends? Like, how has this helped you? Because, we're talking about this authenticity piece and mindset. So how has it helped shift things in your personal relationships?
I'm less fearful of being true to myself. I'm okay with me. I'm happy with me. And I have had a tendency to just want to be loved, to want to fit in, to not want to rock the boat. And part of this journey of authenticity has been being clear about my values. And I put them in my business. I'm loud about them. And my values are around domestic violence awareness, diversity, equity, inclusion, and body acceptance. And to be someone in wellness with body acceptance as a value, I had to be specific about that because losing weight in this amount of time, for me, that is not something that I feel good about. Moving, mindful movement, doing things that are good for you, for your health, your longevity, for the fact that you want to hike somewhere, or you want to be able to walk the stairs when you're traveling, not for aesthetics and to feed into diet culture. So these things can cause what people may say are uncomfortable conversations. So in my personal life, I started to have more of these conversations. And the people who didn't like it aren't around. But those people, in comparison to the people that are in my life, it was a really, really small amount. And I can say, looking at it, that instinctively I knew anyway. It also helped me where I had fear, sadness, anger, frustration around these same people who I felt like didn't love me enough. And I couldn't understand, what did I do wrong? How do I fix it? Or then I would get mad. They're that, whatever it was. There was never a positive emotion around it. And I was able to let it go and say, it's okay. For whatever it is, it's okay. And I think at this point, with all the healing that I did prior to starting my business, the authenticity within my business, I think that's really been extraordinary. I'm surprised and excited by it.
Nice. Yeah, I can imagine so. Like being able to bring that authenticity piece into your business. How exciting that must feel just to know that the work that you're doing is authentically you and it's representative of everything that's you. And you get to bring that in a way that's really going to support and empower others. I think this is a great segue to talk about the work that you do, to talk about your Travel Can Heal initiative, and to share with the listeners, why this work is so important and what do you want people to know through this initiative and through the work that you're doing in the industry.
Thank you. So I work as a sales strategist, coach, and social media amplifier for wellness and healing travel. So within the industry, I'm building strategies. And the reason that I did this is I saw that big brands, they have the deep pockets, so they get the most attention. I also noticed that for myself, being a veteran in the travel industry, it took about 17 years in for me to even hear about wellness and healing travel. And when I would speak to people who had just as much experience or more, and they had no idea what I was talking about, they thought it was just yoga or spas, it blew their mind too. How is that possible? And it's possible because of those deep pockets we talked about. So that's where I knew I had to be different. I had to work in a way that would help and fit into a certain budget and also a certain staffing level, right? There's only a certain level of operational support that these companies have. So I wanted to help them really showcase what they're doing and spread the word and amplify their message in a way that would fit their budgets and their needs. So really meet them where they are and show their brilliance. I am somebody who has been on my own personal healing journey for really actively for 14 years, although I can say that there were some things that happened 5 years before that had me healing, but really actively for 14 years. So as you can see, there's some overlap, right? I had no idea I could have utilized this area of travel to get tools that I needed to take home and release my pain, to strategize, to be a better me, to learn mindfulness, to meet with somebody who did life mapping, which changed my world and my career. All of these things that are out there and I didn't know about. So I don't want that to happen to anybody else. So the Travel Can Heal initiative it's my gift to the industry that I love and to the traveler, the people who like support on their healing journey. And what it does is it connects them. So utilizing the hashtag Travel Can Heal on Twitter and Instagram, and then also signing up, being subscribed to the newsletter, they'll get information about the different healing modalities and about the practitioners, the healers, the resorts, the tour operators, all of the people in travel that can help, that are there to support them and what they can do for them. So it's in one place. And it also obviously helps to amplify travel in a way that is purposeful and meaningful.
Wow. Yeah, I love it. I love that. I love that you found an area where there was something that was missing and something that was still very necessary. And you yourself discovering how beneficial traveling had been to you on your journey and your healing journey specifically. And just wanting people to be aware of that and wanting people to have the knowledge and to know that it wasn't just about, the typical things you hear or see about travel, but there is also a deeper part of it for ultimate wellness and healing. So I love that you were able to really niche down and really find an area that meant something to you and wanting to bring that to other people, knowing that it could support them in their journeys.
Thank you. I feel like I'm living the dream.
So what do you want people to know about, let's just say there's a woman who may have been where you were on your journey maybe 5 years ago, or maybe she's still an employee and she's maybe dealing with some workplace issues, and maybe she's thinking about, how she could really, walk through her fear to step out into something different or something new. What would you say to her? What would you want her to know and to believe?
I want her to believe that she is worthy of her dreams. So with that in mind, she can make them come true.
Yeah. Yeah, that's deep, because a lot of times when we have these desires and these dreams, sometimes we think that we're not really worthy and deserving of them. We think that, maybe we've done too many things that we consider wrong, or, it's too late, or, we have all these things that come up when we think about like our bigger dreams and our bigger desires. So yeah, just telling her that she's worthy of having those things. And, if they're there, if those desires and dreams are there, then they mean something. And normally they're an indication of something that could be better and something that could be bigger.
And I'm a big fan of writing things out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think being clear on what you want is a great exercise, writing out what you see yourself doing. And it doesn't have to be exact. I think I know I got stuck oftentimes trying to figure out, what can I do? Where can I go? Who's hiring? What does it look like? Is this even out there? It's not that. It's what brings you joy. What are your strengths? What kind of environment do you want work to look like? Where do you want to sit? How do you want to feel? Do you want to work for somebody? If you do, what does that leader look like? What is the company culture? What do they believe in? having clarity around that helps to create your future that you want.
Yes, indeed. All very important. Having that clarity and just understanding what your vision really is. Once you get clear about it and once you understand it, and it's like you're opening the door and really allowing the universe to actually deliver what you ultimately want. But you really have to get clear and have to get specific about that thing before it can come. Because if you're all over the place and you haven't really decided what exactly you want and where exactly you want to go, then you may find yourself stuck or stumbling through the journey.
Exactly.
Very nice. So tell the listeners about, some of the work or programs that you have going on now and how they can connect with you.
Sure. So the Travel Can Heal program is something that I would definitely want people to join. So through my website, inspiredjourneyconsulting.com, there's the Travel Can Heal page. So sign up there to be involved. For people who are looking for assistance with coaching and sales strategy, I have one-on-one coaching that I do. That's also available on my website called Coaching with Care because I use a 4-step process. And for wellness and healing travel, I do amplifying as well. And that's my inspired selling. But also, last one, Instagram, I'm on there often. So find me on Instagram and at Inspired Journey Consulting.
Yes, she's very present on Instagram. I admire all of your wonderful posts that you have on Instagram. So much knowledge and so creative, by the way, also. I always see things popping up from Jackie. I'm like, that is so cool. How'd she do that? So yes, you have a great presence, a great following on Instagram. So I'll be sure to include all those things in the notes for the listeners to connect with you. And I want to thank you for this conversation. Really a great conversation on what this journey through fear has really looked like for you. You really detail, a lot of different scenarios and different specifics about your journey and what authenticity has meant for you, and this, healing and how you have had to grow and evolve on this journey. And now you're in this beautiful space of, being an entrepreneur in a business that really feels good to you, where you can actually bring your best self and produce these wonderful things in the world.
Thank you very much. Truly grateful.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. I hope that you enjoyed that conversation with Jackie Roby. She provided great insight on what fear looked like on her journey and how she was able to navigate fear. It's a beautiful example of what happens when we have the awareness to recognize fear and the courage to face it and not let it hold us back on our journeys. Jackie has been able to bring her full, authentic self into her business and heal from things that once held her back. Like Jackie, I've learned that there are great things on the other side of fear. Every time I'm brave enough to face my fears, I'm rewarded with something beautiful. I hope that you're reflecting on your own journey. What fears may be holding you back? What could be on the other side of your fears? And what small, bold, and brave step could you take to move forward towards greater purpose and vision? Be sure to connect with Jackie on her website and Instagram at Inspired Journey Consultant. The links are included in the show notes. If you're enjoying the podcast, please leave a rating and a review, and be sure to share the podcast with another woman in your life. Until next time.